Before we begin today's program, we'd like to answer a request that was sent in from several people about the recordings that were mentioned last week. Lead Belly has made recordings for Victor Record Company in an album called The Midnight Special, and we're happy to announce that 4 of the songs on today's program will be found in that album. In that album, he sings with the Golden Gate Quartet, a very, very famous ensemble. In addition, he has made about 6 or more records for the Bluebird Recording Company. And we're sure that all of you who want to hear Lead Belly in the future in your own homes by means of the phonograph will avail yourselves of these very, very fine recordings. And now to get on to the program. The first song Lead Belly sings is a chain gang song called Take This Hammer. Before the roads can be built, large rocks have to be broken up by the men on the gangs. This is a song sung on the large rock pile.
Take this hammer, and this is where the hammers fall when they sing. Take this hammer, carry it to the captain. Take this hammer, and carry it to the captain. Take this hammer, and carry it to the captain. You tell him I'm gone. You tell him I'm gone. If he asks you, was I running? If he asks you, was I running? If he asks you, was I running? You tell him I was flying. You tell him I was flying. If he asks you, was I laughing? If he asks you, was I laughing? If he asks you, was I laughing? You tell him I was crying. You tell him I was crying. I don't want no cornbread and molasses. I don't want no cornbread and molasses. I don't want no cornbread and molasses. It hurt my pride. It hurt my pride.
When the large rocks have been broken up, the men break them into smaller stones for the road building. This next song is one sung on a small rock pile and is called Ham and Eggs.
Ham and eggs, this is the way the hammer falls when you think about ham and eggs. Ham and eggs, pork and beans, I would eat more, but the cook was so mean. I got to roll in a hurry to make it on the side of the road. If I had enough, my captain was bad. Wouldn't have sold that special that I want to have had. I got to roll in a hurry to make it on the side of the road. If I had enough, my captain was blind. I wouldn't have went to work, boys, till the clock struck 9. I got to roll in a hurry to make it on the side of the road.
July and August in the South are so hot that the earth itself seems to melt. By noontime, the cotton and the wheat fields are baking.
July and August is hot. This man's wife. He got a wife and they called Silver. The only way to get his cool water, he got to call Silver to bring him some water down there, because he's burning down. Silver! Silver!
What?
Bring me a little water, Silver. Bring me a little water now. Bring me a little water, Silver. Every little once in a while. Bring me a little water, Silver. Bring me a little water now. Bring me a little water, Silver. Every little once in a while. Don't you see me coming? Don't you see me now? Don't you see me coming? Every little once in a while. Bring me the bucket, Silver. Bring me the bucket now. Bring me the bucket, Silver. Every little once in a while. What's the matter, Silver? What's the matter now? What's the matter, Silver? Every little once in a while. Bring me a little water, Silver. Bring me a little water now. Bring me a little water, Silver. Every little once in a while. I need it. Every little once in a while. I said it. Every little once in a while.
In the wheat fields, the men work in gangs, too. Here is a wheating song called Stew Ball. Hughie, who was Stew Ball?
Oh, Stew Ball was the first racehorse ever come in the country. And he come in through by California. And the people saw him in there one day. They got to arguing about the racehorse. Never seen him before. And they got an argument. Some say he blew down a storm. Some he come in by night. Didn't know how he come. So we're here to tell the story in the song. Way out in California, where Stew Ball was born, all the jockeys in the country say he blew there in the storm. You bet on Stew Ball, you might win, win, win. Bet on Stew Ball, yes, you might win. Was a big day in Dallas. Don't you wish you was there? You would bet your last dollar on that iron gray mare. You bet on Stew Ball, you might win, win, win. Bet on Stew Ball, yes, you might win. The kill drum was a banging, and the word was give on run. Oh, Stew Ball was a trembling like a criminal to be hung. You bet on Stew Ball, you might win, win, win. Bet on Stew Ball, yes, you might win. When the horses were saddled and the word was give on go, all the horses they shot off like an arrow from a bow. You bet on Stew Ball, you might win, win, win. Bet on Stew Ball, yes, you might win. Oh, Stew Ball was a racehorse. Oh, Molly was too. Oh, Stew Ball run on Molly right out of her shoe. You bet on Stew Ball, you might win, win, win. Bet on Stew Ball, you might win. The old folks, they hollered, the young folks did ball. The children said, look, look at that noble Stew Ball. You bet on Stew Ball, you might win, win, win. Bet on Stew Ball, and you might win.
One of the songs Leadbelly's going to sing up in Boston tomorrow night is Pick a Bale of Cotton. And we're happy to announce that he's going to sing it for us today. Leadbelly, you know, was one of the fastest cotton pickers back home. But suppose we let you tell him about it.
Now, this is when I used to pick 1,000 pounds of cotton a day. You got to jump down to get it. You can't fool around and get it. And I'm going to sing, and that's the way I jump down and pick the cotton. Great God Almighty, I can pick a bale of cotton. A great God Almighty, I can pick a bale a day. A great God Almighty, I can pick a bale of cotton. A great God Almighty, I can pick a bale a day. Oh Lord, I pick a bale of cotton. Oh Lord, I can pick a bale a day. Oh Lord, I can pick a bale of cotton. Oh Lord, I can pick a bale a day. I mean, my wife can pick a bale of cotton. I mean, my wife can pick a bale a day. I mean, my wife can pick a bale of cotton. I mean, my wife can pick a bale a day. Oh Lord, I pick a bale of cotton. Oh Lord, I pick a bale a day. Oh Lord, I pick a bale of cotton. Oh Lord, I pick a bale a day.
Sometimes a man goes around taking names, and that brings great sorrow. And Graham is going to sing the last song on today's program.
There's a man going round taking names. There's a man going round taking names. He took my mother's name and he left my heart in pain. There's a man going round taking names. There's a man going round taking names. There's a man going round taking names. He took my mother's name and he left my heart in pain. There's a man going round taking names. There's a man going round taking names. There's a man going round taking names. He took my father's name and he left my heart in pain. There's a man going round taking names. There's a man going round taking names. There's a man going round taking names. He took my brother's name and he left my heart in pain. There's a man going round taking names.
I ain't done sing you, man going around taking name. I'm going to tell you who the man is. When you see death a coming, oh, he's coming night and day. But when death comes, somebody's going away.
And so ends another program of work songs and spirituals as sung by Hughie Ledbetter and Ann Graham. If you'd like a copy of the words of Pick a Bale of Cotton, just write to WNYC Municipal Building, New York, and be sure to enclose a 3-cent stamp. Next week, the last program in this series will bring to our microphone Leadbelly, Ann Graham, and our old friend Peter Seeger. Folk Songs of America is produced by Henrietta Yurchenko. This is the Municipal Broadcasting System.
Hello. Thanks everyone tuning in and joining us live here at Hi-Note as we sit down for a conversation with Andy Lanset, the Director of Archives at WNYC, as they celebrate their centennial anniversary in 2024, brought to you in collaboration with Barchives NYC and Hi-Note Radio. My name is Dan, the music director here at Hi-Note, and over the next half hour or so, we'll be diving deeper into NYC's archives and chat through some of the moments that make it the station that it is 100 years later. Andy, welcome to Hi-Note, and thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
I feel like some applause. I love it. We kind of had a chance to catch up a little bit before, and obviously you have your own sort of storied past with WNYC. Do you mind sharing a little bit about how you got involved and how you find yourself in this position now?
Well, it's a rather long route. Started actually as a reporter for WBAI in 1981. As a volunteer, a year later, I wandered into the WNYC newsroom also as a volunteer and helped them out on the June 12th, 1982 rally and gathering in Central Park, the anti-nuke rally, which was a big deal at that time. And then by the end of the year, BAI actually had some money and paid me a whopping $8,000 a year to be their full-time staff reporter for a few years. So from there, I did quite a bit of freelancing and documentary field recording and production work, and eventually got out of hard news into historical and documentary features and production. From there, obviously got more and more interested in historical materials and archives work. Started working with Henry Sapoznik on the Yiddish radio project in the early 90s, which made it to air about 10 years later with Dave Isay's help. And so that started me on the road to lacquer disc transfers at the time, and got me into the preservation side of things. WNYC, of course, was interested in 1999 in having some help with its 75th anniversary programming. So I was brought in by then program director Dean Capello, who knew me from work at Christian Science Monitor Radio, and worked on that and suggested you guys should really think about a central repository for all of these tapes that are in various closets and nooks and crannies on a dozen different floors in the municipal building. And they took me up on it, and I started the archives in July of 2000, where we've been ever since.
Yeah. So you said you went from one huge anniversary to the next, kind of, in a weird way. What was the state of it? Like, I guess I'm curious to understand, like, how the archive itself has changed over the last sort of 25 years after you started that process of really kind of going in and collecting and preserving.
Well, before, like I said, we had a dozen different nooks and crannies and closets on several floors in the municipal building. Each was kind of a different set of domain and turf by various producers that I had to wrangle control over and try to bring some order to. So, and obviously a catalog needed to be started. Naming conventions decided on, and
there was nothing like that when you got there.
No, it was simply, I'm the producer of this show, and this is my closet. Wow. So it took a lot of organizing, and of course the municipal building wasn't exactly an ideal place for an archive or storage areas. We continue to have some challenges there over the years until we moved to 160 Varick Street in 2008. And along with that, I would say that, you're basically starting an archive, in my case, some 76 years after the station went on the air. So there was a lot of, along with the in-house materials, there was a lot of trying to gather where stuff was outside of the station. Producers who walked off with their programming in other institutional collections. That was WNYC, and of course now later, after 2009, WQXR material as well. So we've embarked on a major campaign over the last 20 years of repatriation to bring stuff back. If we couldn't get the original item, certainly to be able to get a hold of digital copies or make the digital copies ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a severe undertaking. For the centennial, was there any kind of special additional collections that you were kind of sought after that were kind of like your curiosities as you approached this big anniversary?
Nothing in particular for the centennial, because we kind of, NYC has never been shy about celebrating its birthday over the years. It's obviously been a good opportunity to bang a tin cup on the air, which they're not to hold back from. So I would say that there wasn't anything particularly special for the archives this time around, other than the fact that we really wanted to bring to the fore some of the things that old favorites and things that we have had in the past that need to be re-aired.
Yeah, I'm kind of, you bring up kind of fundraising, and you bring up sort of the financing of WNYC, and I think this is a fun little trivia question. I didn't know this until I got it, but there was a New York City mayor whose campaign included the abolition of WNYC. Does anyone know?
Whoever gets it gets a koozie too.
Someone did say the answer there. Giuliani, yes, Rudolph, Rudy Giuliani.
Well, no. That's partially true.
Yeah,
but
there was another mayor
there were several. There was another mayor in particular
who had a platform.
No one would really give any thought to it, but actually, Giuliani, as far as I know, didn't campaign to abolish WNYC, but Mayor LaGuardia did.
Oh.
In 1933, it was part of his party platform to save the taxpayer money. And in fact, quite a few people wanted to save taxpayer money over the years. And I've made out a huge, detailed list chronologically of all of the times that, because it came up just about every year when they did the city budget, when the city owned the station from 1924 through 70, through 97.
Yeah. When Giuliani did it, was it a surprise?
I don't think it was a surprise, no, because it had come up repeatedly over the decades.
Yeah.
And basically there's a web piece I wrote up called the Station That Dodged Bullets. Basically the 9 lives of WNYC over the years, because it was always an issue in terms of money, saving the taxpayer money, or it wasn't doing what it really needed to do, or it was redundant with what was already on the dial, or any number of other arguments that opponents of the station had. In fact, there was even an opponent, I've forgotten which councilman it was, who got on the air railing against WNYC while he was on WNYC. So,
wow, that's too rich, I think. It kind of writes itself in a weird way. In terms of the shift, have you noticed any sort of shift in programming as you've looked kind of pre?
There have been several shifts in programming over the years. Initially in the 1920s, it's kind of what I would describe as radio as lectern. Radio at that time, of course, was in its infancy when WNYC went on the air. KDKA in Pittsburgh only started in 1920, and NYC, of course, went on in 24. And at that time, there was no money for programming, so there was a lot of civil servants who could play instruments who got on the air at various amateur hours. The music director, Herman Newman, was an accomplished composer and performer himself, so he played quite a bit of piano over the air, filling time. And of course, there was all of the requisite coverage of the events on the steps of City Hall, or various receptions of famous people who came through New York in the 20s into the 30s and beyond. Things didn't really begin to change until the mid-30s, when the LaGuardia administration came in, wanted to abolish the station. It didn't happen, fortunately, and the people he brought in helped to keep it alive, along with the WPA, which radically changed the programming. There was suddenly paid musicians who were on the air, and there was paid drama productions on the air. It made a big difference, and it certainly changed LaGuardia's mind and made for the case of him effectively becoming the station's champion. And of course, everybody knows through the World War II, he was on the air every Sunday with his program, Talk to the People. And that sort of was the beginning of the sort of public radio sensibility of NYC, sort of setting the tone and the pace for the kind of programming that you hear today. It began in 1934 and through World War II.
Yeah, and the kind of sort of, I feel like, podcasts and a lot of the additional production over maybe the last like 20 odd years or so. How has WNYC kind of like shifted its programming to kind of match that? I feel like there's been quite a lot of changes and shifts in radio over the last 2 decades or so.
Sure. Well, obviously the biggest shift for us was in 2001 with 9/11, because NYC, to a large extent prior to that, had a lot more music, as many of you may recall. And certainly classical music, and 2001 pretty much brought the end of that. It's the end of morning music and Steve Post, if any of you have any fond memories of Steve. And with that change, more of a focus on news and talk programming. And the other shift around programming, of course, has to do with the whole technical change from analog to digital. And from the archive perspective, we, when I started the department, we were still doing reel-to-reel transfers at 15 inches per second of 7.5 inch per second tape. I was still buying tape to do those preservation transfers, and now, of course, everything is digital. So.
You upload it into a file somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah. Which is, it sounds a lot easier than the tape.
It depends. Depends, and it also depends on the format. Of course, I forgot to bring my box of formats today, which I was going to do my little show and tell, but. We have every kind of audio format except cylinder and wire that we've been dealing with on a professional level over the last, we started cutting lacquer discs in 1937 with WPA supplied us with disc cutters. Obviously then went to tape later on, although NYC was cutting discs up through 1962. As well as using tape. And then there's all the tape and its variations that we've had to deal with in terms of cassettes, F1 betas, DBX 700 on VHS tape, DAT, etc.
As you've sort of listened to a lot of this programming, obviously over your tenure, what are some of those I guess like bedrock principles that you feel like WNYC kind of always comes back to in its programming? You've said the format changes, but what are some of the core sort of values that you think the station portrays?
Well, I think that it's made an effort over the years, certainly to stick to what I've said is sort of some of the archetypes of public radio programming that really began at the station, and among them, like the book interview programming that started with Reader's Almanac in 1938 under Warren Bauer, who was connected to NYU. It really, he's the precursor to Leonard and Brian and Terry Gross and all of those other people who have done, myriad of book author interviews over the years. Same goes with the sort of the integrity and honesty that goes along with the kind of interviews and talks that we aired with the New York Herald Tribune Book and Author Luncheon Series that went on for several decades as well. Thematic music programming that began at WNYC in 1946 with David Randolph, who for several decades put together the kinds of shows that later someone like David Garland or John Schaefer would do, in terms of saying, we're going to do a show with, about all of the concerts, or rather all of the compositions that have to do with clocks or Bach or whatever, and follow through on it in a intellectually honest and coherent way.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, as you've sort of chatted through there, I feel like are always interspersings with sort of like turning points and some of the sort of maybe challenges, difficulties that the station might have encountered. I mean, we've talked a little bit about the financial piece, but were there any other kind of larger difficulties within the staff or within sort of a changing broadcast landscape that you can kind of think of off the top of your head for the station?
Well, I think obviously in the more recent era, the change has been that for the kind of things that we're doing, we're no longer the only game in town. And that's pretty evident. So that, there's a lot more competition out there, and that means obviously competition for the same kind of sponsorship dollar, whether we're public radio competing with a commercial outlet like Spotify,
right,
or Gimlet or whomever.
Right.
And on the nonprofit side, everybody and his uncle now can have a podcast.
Yes.
If there's nonprofit funding dollars for that kind of project, there's more competition for it too.
Yeah, production is easier, and that sort of makes it easier to create, which is on one hand a good thing, and then on the other hand it makes it challenging. There's so much volume.
This is the case in point.
Yeah.
This radio station,
exactly.
You don't have all the hardware and overhead that we have with transmitters,
An
actual
FM
transmitters.
band,
AM and FM transmitters.
Yeah.
Never mind the four. The question might be, do the four repeaters that we use that constitute New Jersey Public Radio, expanding our signal reach, are they worth that extra?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it might be a question that the people on the floor above me are asking.
When you say that there's a lot of game in town, other radio stations, other NPR stations, I guess, like how do you collaborate or work together? I know that obviously shows that are produced by WNYC are then syndicated out elsewhere. But are you kind of taking a look at the different types of kind of markets that they serve and understanding what's so different about and unique about WNYC when kind of looking at some of the programming?
Well, I can't say I'm listening to them all, but and I'm sure the folks who monitor this sort of thing are keeping tabs on what sort of listenership these programs have in terms of the numbers, because unfortunately I think they're more numbers conscious now than they've ever been before because of the competition for dollars. And obviously a show that, while really interesting and with a great host and fascinating guests, may not make it now. Before it was less of an issue.
Yeah. Kind of going back then to sort of the historical programming, any particular highlights that you find are your sort of favorites, the things that you kind of go back to every once in a while?
Oh, yeah, occasionally. I don't know why, but I don't know if everybody else would share this, but for some reason I'm always quite fond of the actress Cornelia Otis Skinner, who does a monologue in 1940 about Times Square at the theater hour. And she basically, within 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes, portrays all of the various characters, some of them a little more stereotypical than others, that she sort of encounters in Times Square at that time, in that period.
Do you think
I think it's kind of fascinating.
Do you think there's room for that kind of programming now?
I would like to think so. That there certainly was actually interesting show that we have one full copy of that I wish we had more of. Was called Radio X from 1949, and where it was kind of like what Jad Abumrad had tried to do initially with Radio Lab, where he was playing a lot of other people's, sort of oddball documentaries gathered from all over the world. And Radio X was doing kind of the same thing in 1949, where they played these odd-timed elements of different productions that kind of didn't have a home anywhere else. But they found a slot on this particular show for at least a year or two in late 40s and early 50s on WNYC.
I'm really curious to kind of go and chat through maybe some of the more challenging aspects of your job in particular. I'm like, where are you getting the kind of requests and people? Obviously, for the Centennial, there's a lot of work that you're putting into kind of consolidating, curating a lot of the programming. But what does your day-to-day look like?
It's not too bad. Basically, the requests aren't terribly overwhelming. I have to catch up on my spreadsheet to keep track of who's asking for what and when and where. But obviously, I entertain or take care of all of the incoming requests from staff as well as outside the station for licensing purposes. So we'll get a couple, several in a week's time, and there'll be a whole variety of things. It could be, my father played violin on this young people's artist program or whatever it was in 1955. Do you have a copy? Because he just passed away, or I don't know, any number of reasons. And obviously, if we have it, I'm more than happy to send them an MP3 or WAV file. To filmmakers, to TV production people, to podcasters, to you name it on the outside, anybody who's looking for audio. People get university presses who want to have transcriptions of things to include in anthologies or whatever publication they're working on. And in-house, probably the lead item would be obituaries, for which we try to be prepared. Obviously, we're not the New York Times. We don't have a staff of half a dozen people writing stuff in advance. It's more like occasionally sending out an email notice to say, is there anybody over 80, this is to the staff, that you're aware of who's not feeling their best.
A thread, yeah, I like it. An email.
And that maybe we should...
potential thread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We should kind of put aside,
Okay.
and when we do put the files aside, we have a folder called Archives Death Watch, in which we can go to, and people are listed alphabetically, and
what a great band name, also. If anyone out there is looking at Archive Death Watches, it sounds pretty.
I mean,
proper.
all of the cuts of Jimmy Carter have been in for quite a while.
Yes, yeah. So. He's been on watch for a year now.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
So.
He just celebrated the centennial too, actually.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Same age as the whole of WNYC, which is incredible. Are there any sort of particular common threads or like shows or parts of the collection that people are asking for in particular, or is it usually pretty spread out?
It's been fairly spread out. I mean, there's kind of all the old favorites, many of which we've put into the archive or centennial spots. Obviously the iconic reading of the Funnies by Mayor LaGuardia in July 1945, which I'd like to be able to say, generally speaking, that we're more than just Fiorello LaGuardia reading the Funnies, and Eleanor Roosevelt playing records as a sort of a publicity campaign for the March of Dimes in 1957. She's in the studio with a bunch of kids with polio, and she's playing Elvis records for them on request.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
we actually have there's a great photograph of her doing that that we have as well.
Yeah.
What else? Obviously, there's the lead belly material. I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out it was confusing at first, just how many shows Lead Belly had on WNYC, and he actually had 4 different defined shows. Some of them, a few of them maybe not for more than a couple months at a time, but between 1940 and 48, there were 4 shows.
That is what we were playing as folks were kind of walking in as well. Yeah, it was an interesting listen. Kind of as we end our 30 minutes here, I'm curious, like, what does the future of the archive, I think, kind of look like for you? Are there lots of, is there still lots of work to do in cataloging old stuff?
Yeah. No, we just finished digitizing about 45,000 items. There's more to go. Thankfully, there's the American Archive of Public Broadcasting, which received some money from the Mellon Foundation that we expect to be taking some advantage of. And we're currently just working on a smaller project right now of about 120 DATs that came from Bob Sherman's collection, courtesy of the Metro New York Library Council funding. And for years, I was never successful in getting a paper and photo archivist because God knows there's plenty of photographs that need to be worked on and cataloged and organized as well. We did take care of program guides for the most part recently.
Yeah. To get a sense of what was kind of clicking together at the time. Yeah, I'm curious. As a radio consumer, I feel like we touched on it a little bit when we were talking about kind of the competition, the fresh meat on the playground, so to speak. Us kind of included in that. Where do you see, like, you've seen so much of radio history through, I'm sure, analyzing WNYC's collection. Where do you see the kind of future of radio or future of just broadcast in general going with such a crazy media landscape that it is now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I sort of... It's very hard to say. Obviously, the audience in cars is still big, but I don't know that the audience for AM radio on the public side of things is long for this world.
Most listeners, is it still the FM dial or is it the internet stream?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't have those stats.
But
I imagine there's probably some tight competition, or maybe the streaming is more popular. Certainly, you don't have to worry about reception.
Yes.
Generally.
Yeah. You could listen to it from. I mean, I've certainly listened to it from wherever. Kind of as like a closing thought for you, what would you like to share with all these lovely folks here, as well as tuning in, about WNYC's archive or just archiving in general?
Well, you can check us out if you haven't already. If you go to the WNYC.org homepage and scroll to the bottom, there are 2 archive-related links. One is archive shows, where we pushed 6,000 plus hours to the web, and there's a big flat page alphabetically listed of basically dead shows, going back to back into the 30s. And there's also our homepage, which is at Audio Archives, again, bottom of the homepage. If you click on Audio Archives, you'll see our blog pieces and articles on things that we've felt are important to highlight. And there's quite a bit of history there to go through and check out. There's also the Centennial Timeline. If you go to wnyc.org/timeline, you'll find a lot of those blog pieces into a nice chronological listing of 250 or so items detailing some of the most major highlights in the station's history. Certainly not all of them, but quite a few. So, and then obviously I would say I'll bang I don't have my tin cup, but I will bang a tin cup on the air here
Yes,
to keep the station going.
Yes. Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks again to Lindsay and Christina from Barchives. You can check out all of their previous and upcoming events at barchivesnyc.com and get on that mailing list. There's a new event coming up on the 26th, I believe, which is very, very exciting. And thanks, obviously, to the staff here at Hi-Note. Remember to tip your bartenders. And you can check out all of our programming at hi-note.nyc/radio. Happy birthday to WNYC again, and thank you all for tuning in, both in person and online. Thanks.
Thank you.
Folk Songs of America, another program by that inimitable singer of America's own songs, Hughie Leadbelly Ledbetter. Leadbelly can sing so many songs and so many different kinds that it's often a problem which to choose. How many songs do you know, Hughie?
Well, I can sing 500 songs and never go back to the first one.
My goodness, that's quite a mess of songs. Well, today, Leadbelly's decided to give you a cross-section of his repertoire, one or two samples of several different types of songs he sings. First is a group of work songs, beginning with the old favorite, Gray Goose.
Now, this is the Gray Goose. The preacher went out hunting down in my home on a Sunday when he's supposed to have been at church. And he was a pastor of that church. And he went out to try to kill a gray goose instead of being at church, and the Amen sisters found it out, and they was talking it over the next week. Said, did you know the Reverend went out trying to kill him a goose? Well, one of the sisters said, Lord, Lord, Lord. And that's where that Lord, Lord come in. So I'm going to tell you about that preacher. Now, that old gray goose is still laughing at him yet. One Sunday morning, Lord, 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 preacher went a-hunting. Lord, 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 he carried along with shotgun. Lord, 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 long come a gray goose. Lord, 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 gun went off balloon. Lord, 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 down come the gray goose. Lord, 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 he was 6 weeks of falling. Lord, 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 he was 6 weeks of hauling. Lord, 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 then my wife and your wife. Lord, 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 give a better picking. Lord, 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 they were 6 weeks of picking. And they put him on a pebble. He was 6 weeks of boiling. Then they put him on a table. And the fork wouldn't stick him. And the knife couldn't cut him. Then they threw him in the hog pen. And the hog couldn't eat him. Lord, 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 they broke the hog's teeth out. Lord, 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 they take him to the sawmill. Lord, 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 and the saw couldn't cut him. And they broke the saw teeth out. And the last time I see them, he was flying across the ocean with a long string of golden. Lord, 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 and the hog quack, quack, quack. Lord, Lord, Lord.
Now, here's a song about another kind of work, cotton picking. Another favorite, boll weevil.
Now, this is a boll weevil, and this was a boll weevil come through down south. It was a man, he's a sharecropper, and he used to raise 25 and 30 bales of cotton. And after the boll weevil come through, he didn't make but one bale, and while the boll weevil done come and gone, this is his talk, and I'm going to sing it to you in a song. You can talk about the ladies of your own. These boll weevils, they will rob you of a home. They're looking for a home. They're looking for a home. First time I seen a boll weevil, he was sitting on a square. The next time I seen a boll weevil, he had his whole family there. He's looking for a home. 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 farmer taking the boll weevil, he put him in the eye. People went and said to the farmer, you're treating me mighty nice, and I'll have a home, and I'll have a home. The farmer taking the boll weevil, he put him in the sand. People, he said to the farmer, you treat me like a man, and I'll have a home, and I'll have a home. I will have a home, I will have a home, and I'll have a home, and I will have a home. The old man said to the old lady, baby, what do you think of that? I got one of them boll weevils out of my brand new Dutton hat, and it's full of holes, and it's full of holes. The old lady said to the old man, I'm trying my level best. Keep these boll weevils out of my brand new cotton dress, and it's full of holes, and it's full of holes. It is full of holes, it is full of holes, it is full of holes. It is full of holes. The farmer, he said to the merchant, I never made but one bale. Before I let you have that last one, I will suffer and die in jail, and I'll have a home, and I will have a home. If anybody should ask you people who composed this song, tell them it's you that let better. He's just been yelling and gone. He's looking for home. He is 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 looking for home.
Well, now we turn from work to play. A Sookie Jump tune, a tune that's still popular at dances down in Texas. Yaller Gal.
Now this is Yaller Gal. The boys would go to a Sookie Jump, and to the girl down there, she was named Yaller Gal. When they go to the Sookie Jump, they call for Yaller Gal, and they get to dance, they sing about Yaller Gal. Oh, me yaller, oh, me yaller, oh, me yallow gal, me yaller, 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 oh, me yallow gal, me yaller, 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 oh, me yallow gal, me yaller, 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 oh, me yallow gal. I went home with the yellow gal, 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 me yaller, 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 oh, me yellow gal, me yaller, 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 oh, me yellow gal, me yaller, oh, me yellow, oh, me yellow gal, me yaller, oh, me yellow, oh, me yellow gal. I got stuck on the 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 yellow gal. Yalla yalla yellow 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 yellow gal. Never said a word to the yellow gal. I never said a word to the yellow gal. Never said a word to the yellow gal. I never said a word to the yellow gal. Yellow 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 gal. Yellow 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 gal. Yalla yalla yellow yellow gal, yalla yalla yellow yellow gal. She's pretty and fat, yellow gal. Pretty and fat, yellow gal. She got pretty hair, yellow gal. She got pretty hair, yellow gal. Yalla yalla yellow yellow gal. Yalla yalla yellow yellow gal. Yellow 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 gal. Yellow 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 gal.
More play. This time a children's play song. Ha ha this away, ha ha that away.
Now this year's children's playing. Down home they play like little frogs in a mill pond. They'd get around and grab one another by the arm and they'd dance around, they'd sing. And if they're singing, they dance the way they're singing. If they say ha ha this way, that means this way. They ha ha that way, that means you're going from me to somebody else. Ha ha this way, ha ha that way, ha ha this way, and there no sin. When I was a little boy, little boy, little boy, when I was a little boy, 12 years old, Papa went and left me, left me, left me. Papa went and left me, so I was told. Ha ha this way, ha ha that way, ha ha this way, and there no sin. Mama come and got me, got me, got me. Mama come and got me to save my soul. Mama never whipped me, whipped me, whipped me. Mama never whipped me, so I was told. Ha ha this way, ha ha that way, ha ha this way, and there no sin. I went to school, went to school, went to school. I went to school and I was 12 years old. Obey the rule, the rule, the rule. Obey the rules as I was told. Ha ha this way, ha ha that way. Ha ha this way, and then oh then. Went to a teacher, teacher, teacher. Went to a teacher to save my soul. Teacher was a preacher, preacher, preacher. Teacher was a preacher, so I was told. Ha ha this way, ha ha that way. Ha ha this way, and then oh then. Learned my lesson, lesson, lesson. Learned my lesson to save my soul. Wasn't that a blessing, blessing, blessing? Wasn't that so I was told? Ha this way, ha that way. Ha this way, and then oh then. Ha ha this way, ha ha that way. Ha ha this way, and then oh then.
Leadbelly winds up today's proceedings with one of the wailingest, lonesomest blues you've ever heard. Leavin' Blues.
Now this is leaving blues. What I mean is leaving time. This man had lived with a woman 20 years. And he's waiting for...
Keep it up, keep it up. When you're hugging me, keep it up, baby.